Welcome, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Ariandis.
Hey, everybody.
Maven.
Hey, y'all.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
And please welcome our special guest for tonight, Camarel.
Greetings, everyone.
And welcome, Camarel. And you have decided to join us for our Quest Pack review for Update 20. But before we get to that, we traditionally ask our guests a little question on how you got involved with Tolkien, how you got involved with the Lord of the Rings Online, and how you got involved in the community.
All right, I'm going to stick to 5 minutes on this one, as I promised. I got hooked on Lord of the Rings when I was a kid. I've been reading the series, the main 3 books, plus the Silmarillion, once a year, almost every year, like clockwork. When I started to get into mushing, which is text-based gaming, and started my play on Elendor and Beleriand, which is a first-stage game. And when LOTRO came out, I wept for wanting to play, but I couldn't. I didn't have a computer until year 1 when I had a computer that was good enough to play it. And almost immediately I started looking around for roleplay kinships, found myself migrating over to Landreval, and was with the Red Arrows and Elentiri, and I've been with the Elentiri basically since year 1. Camarel as a character came off of Beleriand, and that we're talking back in 2001. So I've been a part of LOTRO and Tolkien for the better part of 30 years. LOTRO obviously is only 10 years old, but I was on the forums even when it was just chatting it up. And Terry Edwin really is what got me talked into this group. Met her on a mush, found out she played Lord of the Rings, started playing with her a little bit, and the rest, as we say, is history. But I have been very impressed with what Turbine, and now I guess it's Standing Stone, has done with the world. Am I under 5 minutes?
All right. Yeah, I think so.
Well done.
Well done indeed. Now let's head into the game news, and we'll begin with the news that there was a hot fix this week. And that hot fix was to fix a little issue where the 106 through 108 mobs in certain instances were a little OP, so therefore they decided to downgrade those mobs down to 105s.
I noticed that when I went into Throne of Dread Terror last night. I noticed that a lot of the mobs that had been orange were now white. I was like, oh, that's nice.
Right. That's because the orange versions were squishing up players a little bit more than intended.
Whoops.
So that went along with last week's update that had to do with changing the power curves, and the power curves of monsters above 105 was adjusted quite a bit. So therefore, they wanted to tone down the number of mobs that were above it. Of course, we will be running into a lot of above 105 mobs once Mordor hits.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Of course.
But we'll also be leveling up, so haha.
Yeah.
Mwahaha. Mwahaha.
Just means more gear.
That's right. I know.
Yeah, that is. Yes, right. A lot new gear that we're having to be getting on this. The other point that's noted is that for those of you who are doing the scavenger hunt, that Cordovan recommends that you keep those scraps of paper that you've been getting as rewards, that you may find them useful. I have no idea yet exactly in what way they'll be useful and how, but I would presume that either next week or the week after we will have some sort of hint on this.
He's been telling us that from the beginning, and it just amazes me when people say, oh, I threw it away. I'm like, really?
Well, I think he said it a couple of times, I think on a stream, but I think this is the first time I saw him say it on the forums.
Okay.
I was about to say, I'm a hoarder. I throw nothing away. I weep for inventory space.
Yeah,
I bet,
that is
yeah.
Finn's. Yes, my inventory space is currently.
Well, and they don't
fine.
stack, which is, so you end up with them.
That's because
in your
they're all
inventory
subtly
bank.
different because they have different
I
numbers
know.
on them.
I know.
So what those numbers mean, we don't know. We'll perhaps. I have seen some speculation on the forums on this, but
Of course you have. How can we
What?
not speculate?
right, that's what the forums are for. For
That's right.
I speculate.
At the risk of breaking theme, I'll say my answer is 42.
All right.
That's a safe answer.
Now, there is something on the matter. Did any of you have a guess on what next week will be on? So we have done all the fellowship already, so we have one more slot left.
I know.
Elrond.
I'm guessing Elrond. Yeah. We should do it. We should have a poll. Have people guess. I'm thinking
Lalia.
Elrond. Sarah Oakart.
I really think it'll probably be somebody like Elrond, but
Yeah, I would think it'd be Elrond.
I didn't
But
think of Elrond.
Some people have thought Gollum, but
No,
we've done,
Gollum, I
we've done
don't
a couple
think
of Gollum already. It seems to me if it was Gollum, we wouldn't have already done some of the Gollum instances.
Yeah.
Who else would we have? Celeborn or Galadriel, I suppose. But Elrond is so active in the game. It's
Butterbur.
really about the game. Butterbur, that's true.
Well,
Or Tom Bombadil.
Arwen. Eowyn.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Arwen. She's as useful in the game as she is in the book. You can tell I'm not an Arwen fan.
apparently not.
Could
I'll stick with Eowyn then.
be, but I still think I can't imagine it not being Elrond. I mean, think of all the stuff that we do in the game that he's attached to, at least in the early parts. I think that'd put quests in like later in the game where you have to go back to Elrond's library, like at like level 90.
It's like, wait, I've already been here.
That's right.
Why am I going back?
Out of nowhere, you're in Rohan, and all of a sudden you get this quest that says, "Okay, take us back to Elrond in his library," just for old time's sake.
How else could it be the most famous library in the land? You
That's
got to keep
right.
bringing them new stuff.
That's right.
Maybe that's what all the lists will be for this next one. It'll be take this to Elrond. Go find that and take it to Elrond. Go find this and take it to Elrond. I really shouldn't
There
give
you
them
go.
ideas.
And the final thing is actually going to be a book to put all the pages in.
That would be
There
handy.
you go.
That would be very handy.
That'll do it.
Now, note that the reward for next week is going to be a white stag,
Right.
because
Ooh.
that is the only pet that's for the 10th anniversary that we have not yet received. So that stag has. You think you could relate that stag to anyone? Well,
Thranduil.
Thranduil came to mind. But we haven't ever met Thranduil.
I know.
So that would be odd. And we've already had Legolas.
White stag. Well, I mean, where
I'm
do
racking
we
my
see
brain.
white
Is-
stags?
Has Radagast come into the game yet?
A little bit.
A
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, he did in with the Lonelands.
Right. We do
Yeah.
have the white stag in the Trollshaws. Remember,
well,
we have
you
that
also
white stag
run into a
Mhm.
lot of white stags in
in Enidwaith, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
near where the hobbits live.
Yeah, but there's not really a character in Enidwaith, is there?
Yeah,
somebody that we would.
So we're
mean,
all
Treebeard.
stuck.
Halbarad.
Treebeard.
Albrad.
One of the eagles, maybe?
Ooh. I guess we'll have to see.
Well,
Well,
if it was one
we
of the
will.
eagles, there would have to be an eagle. Actually, we've already got an eagle pet, I think, from this, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We got a red eagle. Yeah.
Yeah, so they would have saved the eagle pet for last if it was one
Yeah.
of the eagles.
That's true.
What's a white stag? I mean, to me, that would make sense. It would be an elf. So, I mean, Elrond. My money's on Elrond. Of course, I'd love it to be Glorfindel, and there are people out there who would understand why that would be, but he's my
Glorfindel, the only guy who's mentioned to have died and then come back.
Yep, he's my boyfriend from the only piece of fanfic I ever wrote when I was about 14.
I can see why.
Well, I mean, at that age, it was like I had to have a romantic interest, and everybody else was taken. Pretty much, I mean, Legolas wasn't taken, but Legolas wasn't.
Come on. What's the greatest thing
up the hierarchy for me?
What's the greatest thing Elrond's ever faced? I mean, really, in the books, nothing really. Glorfindel killed a freaking Balrog.
I actually gave a paper at an academic conference about Elrond. That guy has been through more. I mean, it's like it wasn't really until I really started studying closely this stuff and in the process of getting my master's at Signum that he has been through so much. I mean, just unbelievable stuff. And like it's like what he's like loses his parents when he's a toddler. No, actually, they were 6. I think he and Elrond, as I remember the timeline, they were like 6 years old when they ended up getting fostered by one of the sons of Elrond. And then, he loses his brother, loses his daughter. His wife gets, messed with orcs, and she leaves. And it's just like, God, and I mean, he's never known his parents. His dad's a star. His mother's a part-time swan. I mean, what a life.
Welcome to Greece.
Really, no kidding. That's true. So yeah, he had it tough, poor guy. But anyway, he was. I mean, he founded Rivendell. He was a Gil-galad's. He's fought Sauron in that area there, and was. But you're right. He didn't kill Balrog, but he also didn't die like Glorfindel did.
Well, let's
What are you trying to say? That Fingolfin was nothing because he managed to smite a god, and even though he died fighting said god, he's the only guy around who managed to wound him?
No, you're just picking arguments. I didn't say that. Everybody loves Fingolfin.
My liege lord.
Let's head to the Lotro Beacon. This week, composer Chance Thomas announced the 10th anniversary commemorative soundtrack is now available. And we also have a recording of a song by The Shades. Do any of you remember The Shades?
No.
They played several times at Weatherstock, and in fact, they had a habit that whenever they played at Weatherstock of winning one of the awards. So they were one of the top bands. They're from Laurelin.
That would be why I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
I'm a strict Landreval guy.
Yes, but they would visit Langeville for occasions like Weatherstock. And they were occasional guests over at Arkenstone, for example, because we had them over at Arkenstone one time because Brannick is friends with the head of the Shades. And we also had, of course, the regular streams. A Minstrel Guild of Bree is organizing Summer Festival, which is going to take place on Saturday. Oh, that's probably already done, right?
Whoops.
Never mind.
But Shirefest is next week, running from 16th through the 18th on Crick Hollow. And, of course, Weatherstock 9 is upcoming. Now, here's our weekly comment. What modern convenience would your favorite character most desire?
Say that again.
What modern convenience would your favorite character most desire?
Now, is that favorite character in the book or favorite character like that we play in the game?
I would presume favorite character in the game.
Okay.
I know, it's a tough one, right?
It is a tough one. Have you come up with something?
Not really coming up with anything grand, because I was thinking seeing how my characters tend to be cooks, I'd say, a better oven or something? I don't know.
Junk food. My elf would love to have junk food.
I can tell you right now, hands down, the one thing that you have not seen in any of these buildings, indoor plumbing. A flush toilet.
Yeah, that.
And a hot shower.
There you go.
Running
That's
water
it.
inside was my first thought, yeah.
That's it right there. And it wouldn't even really shatter the theme so much either. I mean, it's not that. It's not like you're gonna have smoke and electricity and all kinds of stuff hanging around. I mean, the Romans pulled it off.
That's right. That's true.
Well, the Romans, let's see, well, they didn't have flush toilets, but they did have indoor plumbing. No, of course, the Minoans did have flush toilets, so.
Stay there, listeners. You just get something. There's something for everybody on LOTRO Players News.
Yes.
Let's education for you.
Let's see our screenshot of the week, where the Runic Knights are protecting the gate of Minas Tirith, and that is quite a procession.
Yeah, they've got the gate pretty well covered.
Yeah. Those orcs won't dare come after them now. Well, except for the fact that there seem to be about 20 Runic Knights there and about 20,000 orcs.
Whoops.
Well, what are numbers?
Yes. And they're one of the oldest kins in LOTRO, dating back all the way to beta. And when the systems, and when the game, I guess, actually, I'm wondering when the real server started. Does Brandywine go all the way back to beta?
I don't know.
Alan Terry go back to beta.
Hmm?
Nothing. I'm sorry. Did somebody say something about the Alan Terry going back to beta? I think the Alan Terry were around in beta. Yeah.
Okay. See,
Shameless plug.
yeah. So therefore, of course, they're not the only kin that goes that far back, obviously. So let's see then, what is on sale then?
Blah, orcs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Stan?
It's Monster Week this week. Yay.
Did you want me to read it this week? All right.
Yeah.
Our free sample of the week is a free Crimson die ×1 with the coupon code Mordor Red. And
Pretty good deal.
yeah, and it's Mordor Red. MORDORRED. 25% off monster classes, monster traits and skills, 100% infamy renown gain, now through June 15th. So, yeah.
Then let's head to our site news, and we'll begin with community events for June 9th through the 15th. And is there anything here that someone wants to highlight other than the big ad for Weatherstock, which is going to be on July 22nd, 2017?
Shirefest is coming to Crick Hollow on June 16th through the 18th. There's a link on the article on LOTRO Players with all of the information and the schedule of the band. So that sounds pretty cool.
All right, maybe I could remember to go there, especially considering that it's my home server currently. And then we have Andang, who posted a question. Why do you craft?
The most important reason of all, because it's there.
Well,
That's right.
Because we can.
I'll tell you why I do, okay? Because as someone with a very erratic work schedule,
yeah.
I can't depend on raid rewards and going out and grinding to really get me what I need. So I very specifically created a core 8 alts in order to get every craft covered. Yeah, I developed a character for them, made sense, etc., but I have, as I leveled Cameral as my main character, fed them back every looted piece of crafting material I got. And just from Cameral alone, I have fed them all pretty well up to Honorian crafting and maxed out their guild rep, etc. But their sole purpose, seriously, is to feed the alts with gear. I mean, I am a self-contained entity.
That is one reason on it. Now, for my own, I created a YouTube response to this where I basically said that I do it for the consumables. So that's a very different reason. Essentially, I usually make things like cooks or something like that and just cook all the food so I can have the buffs and regeneration that you can get from the food. Anyone else?
I wanted to be able to make everything. And I was really liking that I could make really great armor. And it was the best armor I could get until I passed level 100. And then I was sad.
Then you were sad.
Well, yeah,
No, she's got.
that's not the best armor anymore. And I put
She's
a
got a
lot of work
point.
into that.
It really does tick me off that as you get up there and you start to be at the top tier of level, that the crafting does not make it. You know, I mean, it'll get you enough that you can grind mobs and whatnot, but really, and I can see where LOTRO is almost forcing you to do this, but if you want any of the top tier stuff, you have to raid. You can't craft it.
Yeah.
Well,
Or pick flowers. You can pick
That's
flowers.
generally been true.
I think that's true of every game, though.
Yeah, because I believe that usually the crafting gave you, generally I think at most tiers gave you maybe the second best that you can get, where the best was with the high-end instances that were ever available at the time.
Yeah, I think I could make good armor better than anything that would drop or be offered as a quest reward. And then the tier 2 raid of whatever that capped level was that I was passing had the better stuff.
Yeah.
But my stuff was at least on par with tier 1. Or close to on par of the raid stuff. For most of the leveling.
All right, then.
Which might not have been
Yes,
true when it was actually cap. I have no idea.
Yeah, since I didn't do rating, still have yet to do.
Well, I
tier
know
2
it
rating.
used to be, like think about Wildermore. I mean, they had like rep-gated recipes for doing
Yeah,
for making armor. And
Yeah.
actually now, now at Endgame we have that too. We have to craft the rep clickies and then craft, more to get.
yeah. We're
Stuff.
talking about. Yes, in that case, usually when they do that thing, you have to do whatever the end game stuff is. I guess right now that's flower picking or.
No, it's
Or is
it's
it-
basically
or
mining
towers.
and
Mining.
yeah, it's getting your mats out on the landscape or in the resource instances and then crafting them.
Yeah, there is that, and in some other places, of course, in Wildermore, it was doing the dailies over
Right.
the daily runs that they had there. Wildermore ran pretty much the same way as Hootbolt did and how it operated.
Right. You notice there's like a sort of a trend, right? Certain section, it's like, now the fashion is get rep to get your stuff. Now the fashion is pick flowers.
Yeah,
It's like
that.
different parts of the game, like they were like different, like, oh, let's do it this way now.
I wonder what the fashion will be in Mordor.
That'll be interesting.
No, I wonder if that
Because I could
continue with this.
I just can't imagine the plains on Mordor being a place where there will be a plentiful supply of flowers.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I wonder what it's going to be. Of course, now they've switched over, well, you get your flowers still to get your journals, but now they switched over to, like ore and wood. I
will say there is the one problem is if you're a tailor, you're out of luck. The hide.
Cloth.
Yeah.
You can't kill stuff for the cloth. I mean, you've got to do the resource instances to get the cloth, which is really annoying.
And the nodes don't do it either.
Nope. But I guess they figured, whereas the gnarled branches will give you already finished lumber, and the ore will give you already finished onyxes. I guess they figured it was too much of a stretch that if you killed an animal, you would get rush cloth.
Oh, come on, but you got the Deadlands out there in the marsh. You could go out there and hack all the way. I mean,
That's what I mean.
They could have put nodes out there.
I agree with you. I'm being facetious. I mean, I don't understand why every other mat you can get on the landscape except for the foresters, except for the hide equivalent.
I give you the sum answer to all conundrums on every game. Devs suck.
Oh, that's not fair. That's not completely fair. I do not. What do they say? This station does not necessarily align.
The views of the individuals being interviewed does not represent the views of the studio at large. All opinions are their own, etc.
That means it's time to head out to the family line 138, The Missing Links.
I liked this one.
What, because the links was missing, or because...
No, because of the ending. But I can't talk about it, so spoilers. Go read it. It's great.
I'm impressed that it's out to 138. I mean, this is really making me want to start writing the very long story of Cameron. Oh my god, I'd be here all day. Week, months. Jesus. I mean, I've got to read it, if only because anybody dedicated to telling a story that is in 138 parts and counting is committed.
Yeah, Tim's done a really good job.
So that's 138. And we have, after that, episode 61 of Critters, Everswim. I wonder where that takes place at. And of course, this is having some fun over at Evendim. And you can check over that. So that's Family Line and Critters. And that means that now we have covered our site news. It's time to go to our Update 20 review.
Dun,
And
dun,
as
dun.
Yes, Update 20. The Black Gate. And we usually start with the epic story, so I should just remember you that in discussing the epic storyline, we will be having spoilers. So therefore...
Spoiler alert, the Black Gates are black.
Thank you.
Come on.
Therefore, if you are wanting to avoid spoilers, I suggest skipping 10, maybe 15 minutes in advance in order to get by that so we could go by the epic storyline. With that said, let's go into the epic story where you start out at the camp for the Host of the West, where you are just on the edge of the waste. And you talk to various people there, of course, just to get warmed up, including Pippin and a couple other people. And eventually you speak with Mithendir, who's, of course, worried about Frodo. And you're wondering, of course, what is the status of Frodo, because they decided that they were going to Frodo and Sam decided that they were going to enter Mordor through Cirith Ungol, which was a recommendation by Gollum. At this point, therefore, you enter into a session play where you are Gollum.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and you are, of course, deciding what are you going to do, because no, you want that ring, but you can't hurt the master. What am I going to do, my precious? Well, you get the idea. So therefore, God decides that what he must do then is go to her. And therefore heads out into the caves, as of course trying not to be persuaded by Schmeagol in any way, because Gollum wants to feed Master to her, and Schmeagol of course doesn't want to do it. So you have that little struggle going on there. And eventually Gollum reaches the cave. And no, you don't get to see her, but you get to see the situation from her point of view for a moment. And that's a bit of a tease.
Oh gosh, why?
I am sure, though, that when Mordor comes out, we will get to see her in all her glory.
Yeah.
And probably in 5 different types of instances. I think it was Maid of Alliance who said that Shelob is such an iconic character, there is no way that she could be limited to a single instance.
Oh, man.
So you can expect that there are going to be several things related. There's probably going to be something in Mordor that is going to have Shelob in it, but she's probably also going to be central to whatever instance cluster comes out, which is, I think, supposed to be Update 22 probably, or something like that. So keep that in mind. But anyway, we get our first little teaser of her as we go along there.
Maven, you don't mind questing with somebody who has their eyes closed, right?
Just put her on follow. It'll be fine.
I already went through this instance with it's a solo instance. So Terry and Sans and I were doing it, but we each did it separately. And so the whole time we're doing it, we're listening to Sans go, ooh, ooh.
I think Terry even streamed and highlighted that.
I think you did. Well, what you can do is just put one of us on follow, and then, you can, go away from the keyboard for a little while, and we'll be,
Yell at you when it's done.
Yeah.
After that, we then talk to several people all over the place, and eventually we wind up meeting Aragorn at his next position, and that is at the camp for the host, from the camp of the host of the West, and he eventually sends you in the direction of the Black Gate. While you're there, of course, you need to kill a few foes in the No Man's Lands, which is the first area, and then you find Langlis and some ruins. So essentially, you get the grand tour of the Wastes. That's essentially what you get. That's a common thing in the Epic storyline, to get the grand tour. So you go and check out all the places under the disguise of doing scouting for the area. Now, there is one place in there that you have to be careful of, and that's a place that if you get too close of, you start to get what I think is the second worst dread effect in the game.
It is kind of harsh, yeah.
It is kind of harsh. And you eventually, later on, have a way of getting around it. So that's why I say second worst. The worst, of course, is the infamous one in Angmar, where if you go close to a Watcher Stone, go And then eventually, after doing your grand tour, you meet Aragorn at the base of the Slag Hills, outside the Black Gate, and of course you do a little bit of touring there to say, oh, how's it going over at the Black Gate? All quiet. And of course, you know that anything that's going to be, if it's quiet, it's probably the calm before the storm, so to speak.
Yeah.
So therefore, we head out and go and head towards the Black Gate. Sort of figuratively knock on the door, call them to surrender, and all that fun stuff. And the Mouth of Sauron appears, so we get to see how they decided to depict the Mouth of Sauron for this particular
Nice.
instance.
I will say I'm very impressed with their ability to involve the player. I know it felt like, you were just kind of there as a side bit but even as that, they're able to squeeze you in to what is an iconic moment in the story.
Yeah.
First thing to do is go shut up Pippin.
Well, hobbits. What can you do?
Yes, Pippin. Yeah, so therefore, you go out there and you have this big long speech between this. If you've ever read the Blackgate chapter in The Return of the King, essentially, it moves pretty much the way that does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And eventually, of course, you get presented with the tokens saying that, okay, look what we've captured, this mithril code. And actually, no, they
don't say that, but they
well,
hold
no,
it up, yeah.
They have these various tokens that they have collected.
Right.
That obviously came from Frodo and Sam, but looks like some of them came from Frodo, some of them came from Sam, but, well, why is there only one? There's some things that's hard to explain, which, of course, if you ever read the next chapter in the Tower of Kirthungel, which is, of course, the opening of Book 6 in The Return of the King, of course, you'd understand that. But, of course, at this point, you don't understand it. So you're saying, okay, what's going on in here? Of course, there is no answer to that. And the Black Gate opens after the Mouth of Sauron, after we refuse the terms from the Mouth of Sauron and send them back in. They open up the Black Gate, and this humongous army pours out of it. And all we are left to do is to defend these two hills as this massive army tries to come in and engulf us. So the next part of the story is, of course, to run all over the place trying to get through this because we are surrounded and we're being drowned out by them. And things pretty much go from bad to bad to bad to worse as you go along in this battle because what do you expect when you're... I don't know how bad you're outnumbered because it's hard to count how much... No matter how many forces were brought to bear on you, you can be sure there's another army that size on the other side of the gate that has not been able to get out because there are too many people there. That's how bad it is. And eventually, of course, you go through this. Legolas is running out of arrows. And Pippin, who's doing the best in the fight, somehow, of course, kills a troll that lands on top of him.
Poor guy.
Poor Pippin. So, of course, we try to see if we could see any movement out of Pippin, and Pippin, we can't see any movement out of Pippin. The idea is to give you the impression that Pippin is dead, and it's just pretty much the same impression you get at the very end of Book 5.
Right, I was thinking about that.
In Return of the King, where Pippin's, I think, final words are, goodbye!
Right.
Because Pippin says, okay, this is the end before he blacks out on the matter.
That'd be Merry. It's Merry out on the Pelennor Fields. Pippin out here.
No, he's talking about...
I'm talking about here at the Black Gate.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Are you comparing it with what he says in the book?
Yeah.
No, well, sorry, we were comparing the same general thing that happened to Merry out in Pelennor Fields with Eowyn.
Well, I wasn't talking about that. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was comparing what was in here compared to... When I said Book 5, I didn't mean Book 5 of the epic storyline. I meant Book 5 of The Lord of the Rings of Tolkien.
Gotcha. I'm with you. I was about to say Book 5 didn't sound right for the game, but I smiled and nodded.
Yeah. No, I meant Book 5, meaning the first half of The Return of the King.
I'm tracking.
Is what's called Book 5. Which is the scene with the Black Gate on there.
Right.
Then after that, after you get out of that second instance, we speak with Aragorn, and he says, well, no one's going to be able to help us. We are here, surrounded. No one can save us because who could save us? Then they pan out, going further and further back, all the way to the Argonath. And then everything goes dark. as you hear the flapping of wings.
Well, actually, you reverse through the Argonaut, and then you hear the flapping of wings going
But,
toward
yeah.
the Argonaut, which is really cool.
Yes. So then, of course, that's where they leave us off, and that's pretty much where Tolkien leaves us off at the equivalent point at the end of this, because, of course, the last thing that Pippin says before his goodbye thing is, no, the Eagles thing, that was part of Bilbo's story, you know.
Well, once again, I've always been very impressed as I've tracked through the. I mean, basically, once we left Angmar behind and started actually following the Fellowship,
Yeah.
I've just been eating it up. So I can't wait to see what they do with the next expansion.
That's what we'll find out soon, hopefully. Or at least when they finally get it out, because we're still waiting for the first beta.
They taunt me.
They taunt you. They taunt you.
I don't think you understand. Ever since I heard they were going to bring out the High Elf, Camaril is Noldor from way back. I don't want to give too much of a spoilers because I'm really thinking I'm going to start doing a I don't know, either a live journal or something, and just start telling his story from the very beginning. And so the moment they said this, I was like, oh, done. So at this point, it can't come fast enough.
All right. Anyone else have anything they want to say about the epic storyline before we continue?
The session play was incredible. That started it.
Yeah.
They did a really good job with that.
Yes, that was a very good session play into it, and I think you had some people who don't like session plays who really liked it.
I mean, it was good enough. I was still cringing as we were talking about it, so.
Well, yeah, it would make you cringe. Then that will be the end of the spoiler section, and we can head out into the second section for our Update 20 review, and those are the side quests, the quests within the wastes.
I will say to anybody who's out there that actually have a really nice mini arc, finish it. It'll take you all through the wastes up into that infamous hill we were just talking about with all the death gloom if you get too close.
Right.
Finish that arc. It delves into a very obscure side of, Tolkien lore that's only, kind of flicked at with mention, that once again the LOTRO devs have expanded and built upon and created more immersion. So I don't want to give too many spoilers on it. Just finish the whole arc. I just finished it off actually yesterday. Finally did all the last of the quests and got up on the hill and quested through, and I was very taken with that.
Yeah. I guess I think I am happy though that the devs decided to refrain from creating waning combat. Could you imagine trying to fight charioteers?
Yeah, no. I'm not a big fan of mounted combat in general. I would have
Right.
That would have. Ugh.
Yeah. I know. I think when I did those quests, because I think there was one point where you did have to fight some mounted enemies, and I just, I believe I fought them on foot anyway.
They actually dismounted you pretty easily. It really was weird. I'd fought mounted combat in Rohan and everywhere else were dismounted the way I was out there up on that hill. It was very strange. But then, as you say, you fought them on foot because they didn't run around on you. So it's weird. They would dismount you, but they wouldn't kite you.
Well, they're ghosts. They don't.
They forgot how to kite. I know. It's been so long.
It's been so long.
Luckily for us.
That's right.
Luckily for us, yes. Actually, since I was playing a Warren where I could just toss jabs anyway. What class do you play?
I'm a guard. I'm a tank. I'm a diehard.
Oh, that's right. You're a guard.
I like getting up in somebody's face and saying, "Yes, please, give me more."
Whack!
That's right. No, it's not enough. I'm not impressed yet. Give me more. 15 mobs? Okay, now I'm getting worried. Where's my healer? I'm out here solo. Crap.
But anyway, we had that particular quest line, and we also had the one. Actually, you had two areas in there that sort of wound up getting tied together because you had that, and then you had the Fane of. Was it Fane of Screaming or the Fane of. Well, it was since it's a translation from Black Speech, I guess you could almost just say just by anything. But Fane of Screaming, I think, is one potential translation you could have for the Black Speech.
Well, they tie that together with the
yeah, with the Wainwriters and all that.
Yeah,
stuff. And that was really nicely done on that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If anybody's familiar with the Black Numenorians and the way they've kind of inserted them into the Gondorian region, and they bring some elements of that in. I don't want to do too many spoilers, but it's I liked it.
Once you finish with the Wainwriters, then you head out into the Slag Hills, where there are two types of quests that you tend to have. You tended to have those that sent you into the closest area, that near in the Towers of the Teeth area, where you do a lot of stuff added to a couple of outposts there. But there's also one outpost a little bit further off that's intended for group play, and I've never done any of those quests. I don't know if any of you did.
I've done all of them.
Yeah, okay, so you mentioned it because I've done all the solo ones, but I did not do any of the fellowship ones.
Yeah, well, the when you're in the Slag Hills, yep, Lag Reuven is the area. It's I call it Tarlang's Crown on steroids, basically.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and in order to open up the, I think it's just, oh gosh, now I can't remember, but I think it's just the Fellowship resource instance.
Yeah, it's the Fellowship version of the two resource instances.
You have to do the Lang Reuven, and you don't have to actually, there's 3 cycles of going back there, and they give you 3 quests each time, but you don't have to do all 3. There's one in each of the 3 cycles that you have to do to unlock the resource instance, which makes it a little bit easier. There's the horses. You have to let the horses go, and you have to actually escort one of the horses out so it doesn't get killed. Then there's the second cycle. There's 2 bosses you have to kill. I can't remember what the third one is. I'd have to look at the list again. But anyway, I had done, I had gone through with the groups and had done all 3 cycles. And then I went through on my second level cap character, and I went with the group, and they're like, no, we only have to do 1 of the 3. I'm like, I wish I had known that. But anyway, and of course the place has got, deeds like kill X number of this and X number of that. And also there's a lovely roving threat that wanders around close by there. So you can have a lot for your money by going to Lang Reuven. You have to get the group.
Yeah.
It's a tough area.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want to get, you get more stuff if you do the Fellowship resource instances than if you do the solo. You get a sigil if you do the group quests that help you get your weapon stuff. So, if you're that kind of player.
Well, yes, but if you're that type of player, you'll probably be in a group that would have done it.
Yeah, by now.
Because if you're that type of player, that means you do a lot of high-end group content. If you do a lot of high-end group content, you're going to have a group that's going to make doing that area a priority
By-
so that they could open up the fellowship
Right.
versions.
By now, that's true. But when
Yeah.
the game first came out, it was a lot of blind leading the blind going into that
Well,
area.
yeah, there is that.
I mean, that's kind of settled down now. And actually, if you go to the camp in the Slag Hills, where the milestone is, there's always people there because there's, groups forming and people hanging out to see if there's going to be groups forming. I actually just tend to do the, if there's not a group already going, and actually the resource instances, once you do Langruben and you unlock the resource instances, the fellowship ones, they can be kind of time consuming. There's 2 of them. It's a full evening of questing with the group to do those resource instances. Whereas doing the solo instances, you can do them pretty quick. It's
I
just that
would
you
have
don't get the
assumed-
same amount of
okay.
stuff.
I thought that there would have been a 1 hour limit on them. Like there isn't a 1 hour
Oh,
limit
that's
on
true.
each
No, there
instance?
is a 1 hour limit. Now, why does it take so much time? I guess, well, because you got 2 hours and then about an hour to get everybody together and figure things out. So that's an evening.
Okay, I guess you got a point there.
It seems like it takes up an evening, but I guess you're right. A lot of that is like waiting around and getting the people in and summoning them in. Does everybody have stuff? Did you get your lock picks? All that
Right.
stuff.
Okay. Let's right now. Okay, because right now we're on the landscape. So anything else?
Oh,
to say
right,
about
right, right.
Landscape before we actually go into the resource instances themselves.
I wish, I know this is not possible, but I sure wish they could connect the dead marshes from Dal Amroth to this dead marshes. I mean, it's kind of like the Eves of Fangorn and Fangorn itself. It's 2 separate things, but it would
Right.
be kind of cool if it was connected. But I'm sure there's not a way you can really do that.
Well, there's probably a way to do it, but the question is,
Not worth it.
you have to
probably.
find the right spots or something like. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know how close they are on the map to each other.
Right.
Would you have to fill in a large amount of spot, or are they pretty much adjacent to each other?
Yeah.
And that you just have to make sure that there's not a problem when going for. Actually, the mob differential isn't all that great because the one Dead Marshes area is level 100, I think, and the other one is 105.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it could be.
Yeah. We have a lot worse interfaces in the game.
Yeah, that's true. It would be kind of cool because I think the Dead Marshes, that's in the Dal Amroth section is so detailed. It'd be cool to be able to go into that from this side. And like you say, you go in maybe on this side, it would be you'd start off with 105 mobs or whatever, but it would go through then to the other side. Anyway, I like I said, I'm not a dev, and I'm sure it would be probably more that it's not worth it to do, but it'd be kind of cool if you could connect.
Now, I should note that you do have landscape versions of Skoy Rock and the Towers of the Teeth that you
Right.
do as part of the landscape. In fact, you doing those are part of what you have to do in order to unlock the solo versions of
Right.
the resource versions of it. And I think you have to go through there about 2 or 3 times in order to.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. It's like a 3-time cycle, I think. You
Yeah.
have to kill certain things. And,
Actually, what you've got to do, what unlocks it there is completing the deed for the Slag Hills. When you complete enough quests, because as soon as I hit that bing, it unlocked as soon as I completed that deed. I had a problem because there was one quest I had trouble doing because I did not realize that there was a clicky near the entrance that you had to click on inside the Towers of the Teeth.
Oh, yeah, right inside to the left. Yeah.
Right. And I missed that clicky, so therefore I wound up missing that for a while. And what I was doing is I was doing some of the dailies in order to get up my quest count in order to finally be able to unlock it.
Oh.
But doing all the quests would be enough in order to do it.
And
Just
the other
remember
thing
that
I would
clicky.
say about that, doing those landscape quests, if you can go in with folks, I would recommend it. I mean, you can do it solo, but it's pretty mobby in there.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
it's mobby. And I know the first time I did it, there was one section in Square Rock where I had a problem where I managed that by the time I killed all the mobs that were within one particular camp, they were already respawning.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I had spent 10 minutes there in continual combat because I could not kill the mobs fast enough.
Fast enough. Oh gosh. I can believe it.
So that's something to keep. I think they might have toned down the spawn rate or something like that in that area. But of course, if you're there with a group or something like that, there should be absolutely no problem.
Do they do that? I mean, I've noticed it seems like they do that. Like when an area first opens up, the spawn rates will be relatively short because I guess they assume, there's a lot of players.
Yeah, because a lot of players. Because when you first open up an area, with all the players in the area, you're going to have a lot of problems in there. But I think it was also partly a problem because I think I missed one of at the time, I didn't know one of the most effective skills to be using against the enemies in there. So I think my DPS has increased a little bit since then. So the best DPS I said is when a minstrel pops up and starts killing things, and I said, okay, it took me 10 minutes to kill that thing, and you do it, and you one-shot it. Well, I guess that's what I get for not having a top-end equipment. I guess that's what happens when you don't have top. Right.
There you go.
So therefore, doing all that unlocks the resource instances, which are the waste versions, because resource instances, you've had some in the past in Moria, you've had them in Hootbold, you had them in Fangorn. Those are the three areas I could think of so far. So this is similar to those, except they also have a little bit different. Because they're similar in that you have 3 quests, you have a 1-hour time limit, and that there will be nodes. Now, there are only 2 of them in these. You have one for scholarly materials, and you have one for ores. They do not have one for wood, probably because, well, where are you going to find wood in the wastes?
Well, I think you get the wood in the lockbox.
Yeah, you can get them in the lockboxes.
And when you turn in the quest, you get wood. But there's also no onyx either. Then it's
onyx.
Just wood. Yeah, you don't get the jeweler stuff. You'll get that. Like if you do the gnarled branches, the ore, you get onyx and no, that's true. You would get onyx with the ore. Never mind.
Yeah.
So you get the wood. You get the wood. When you turn in the quests and stuff. And I think you get cloth. You don't get cloth. You get cloth if you choose it. But
and you're complaining that you can't, that because there aren't any beasts, you're not going to get any hides.
Well, you don't get rush cloth from any of the. You don't get the cloth from anything.
Oh, because it's cloth. Okay.
Yeah. So beasts don't. It's not like you can get like you get Norian hides, and you don't get any hides. So it's like that's really annoying.
Well, since I haven't really been paying too much attention to the resources from these, because I told you earlier, what do I craft? I craft consumables.
Yeah, well, in that case, no problem.
Yes. So therefore, these resource instances then are, so it says, similar to it, and the idea is you go in there, and the idea is to kill the boss within an hour, and while you're on there, you have these 2 other side quests. The solo version, at least, you should be able to do them in, I think, Skoyrunk maybe about 20 minutes, and maybe Towers of the Teeth about 30 minutes, at least for me. I guess if you're
I've
super
done it
powerful, much better.
On my Hunter, I do it in about less than 15 minutes for Skoyrunk and probably 20 for Towers of the Teeth. So yeah, you're right. It depends on your class, but yeah.
So it depends on your class, and I have a mostly defensive build, so therefore that's one of the reasons why my DPS is a little needs left to be desired.
Now there is an optional piece. Are you going to get to the optional piece in the
that'll be one moment. We'll get to that.
Okay. All right.
Now, one thing I noted about the Towers of the Teeth is that be careful on how you pull the mobs when you first reach the stairway. The first time I did it, I managed to pull four SIGs at the same time. Because of the way they are, because you have these two patrollers, and there's this one point where if you hit a certain one, you could wind up with 4 mobs at the same time if you're not careful. And I had 4 SIGs, maybe a couple other regulars into it. And yeah, trying to burn them down and trying to stay alive and all that. If I didn't have a defensive build, I would have been killed in that. So that's the reason why I stay in it, even in those dungeons. So it is something you have to be careful of how you do it. If you're careful, you should never have to fight more than 2 of them at the same time. And even then, you usually get down to 1. But of course, you do have also regulars, normals also on there. And then, of course, at the end, at the boss fight, you have your boss fight, but you also have that optional that Nathan really wants to talk about.
Well, I just wanted to bring it up because you have to go in prepared for it. There's an extra box that you get for completing the instance, but you have to have these things called brittle lockpicks in your inventory bag in order to open up the box. And in order to get the brittle lockpicks, you have to pick flowers. So, and then what's in the box is usually there's a fragment of a Thillian essence, and I think that's one of the ones where you get to pick, cloth or whatever crafting thing you want. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in there. Do you remember if there's anything else in there? I think that's it.
I've never.
Oh, okay.
I never picked up a key, so I've never opened up one of them.
You get the brittle lockpicks from the herbal trade guys, and you get it with a combination of gold and violet essences, which are the flowers that you get in the new area. But it's extra it's extra stuff. I mean, it's extra, you go through the hassle of doing the whole thing. It just gives you extra, especially if what you're trying to do is get your rep up and then also, craft in order to get any of the jewelry or stuff that the new rep vendors are offering. So anyway, if you're not interested in doing that, you don't need to worry about it, but it's there.
Anyone else have any comments on the resource instances?
I haven't opened them yet, so no.
Oh, okay. You haven't opened them yet.
Anybody in chat mentioned anything about them?
Yes. All right. How about you, Camaril?
Cam? I guess he has nothing to say.
No, I was muted. My wife had popped her head in, and I quickly muted the thing, and then here I am talking, and I'm like, what do you mean, Cam? I'm talking. What? No, I haven't unlocked them yet, although at least I knew about the brittle lock picks, and I had been picking flowers just because I knew that, hey, they would probably...
Right?
Well, because they're there, and I figured they wouldn't put them there if they weren't useful for something. So just as I'm going from quest to quest, I'm like, all right, I'll pick it up. All right, I'll pick it up. All right. Come to find out they're useful. Lucky me.
Yeah, it is interesting that, yes, you do find flower, or actually more like fungi, inside of those dungeons.
Yeah, that's true. You tend to find that, like, the cap of even gleam or whatever,
right?
Rather than yeah. But anyway,
now,
so yeah, it's interesting, if you're into doing that stuff.
Oh, speaking of the flowers versus the reputation stuff, and I guess it's kind of going into the next topic of ours, but one of the things I noticed was I was looking at the vendors, and when you're going and you're grabbing the materials either off of the nodes or the mobs or the resource instances and doing your crafting and getting the rep items that you don't burn for rep because it's assumed that you're at the max rep and all that, you can't actually do anything with them. Not unless you've gotten the very beginning raid gear. Because what you're doing is you're upgrading like the supreme, gauntlets of the Shadowbane, say, which is the set that I'm looking at because I run Yellow Line. Well, in order to do that, you have to get the previous tier, which is the previous tier, which is the previous tier, which you get from the Minas Tirith rep guy, off of the Throne of Dread raid.
Right.
Which I'm like, really? Have you been trolling me this whole time? You're out here like, yeah, do all this rep stuff. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, by the way, you can't do anything with it until you raid.
Well, I thought that there was. I thought that there were a couple of things like cosmetic pets and stuff like
Well,
that.
there are,
is.
but that's I'm looking for gear. I'm trying
you're
to
looking for gear.
Yes, gear. Yes.
What people are doing and what I've done is I got the floor of the herbalist armor from North Athelion. So you get that armor, you stick in your Athelion infused or get your like super duper legendary infused essences on that, and then from the new area you get and you also get the legendary rings from the herbal guys in North Athelion, and then at the new guys you get your off like I got my offhand weapon, and I think there's shields also, and then jewelry. So the jewelry is the main thing for the new guys. Oh, and there's pocket item. So that's basically what I grinded the stuff for.
And if I remember right, the pocket item is real nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. In fact, I may or may not be able to tell you on. Let's see, with it is really nice on my it's three slots for the essences, and then this the static stats that they come with are pretty good too. So, and there's 2 levels of those actually. So you really want to try to go for the higher end, the gold. So you want to get kindred before you do all that stuff. But anyway, so most people are doing that. They're using, because the thing is, we're going to have Mordor come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So use the North Athelion armor, which is pretty easy to get. It doesn't take that many floral essences to get floral pickings to get the actual armor. Do that, and then Mordor's going to come out. There's going to be more armor to go for. So it's like, that's great. I'll just do the jewelry for now with these guys.
Well, you know that the armor is going to be obsolete the moment you enter through the Black Gate.
I know. It's true.
Isn't it always the way?
It's true.
Well, and in fact, one of the devs even went out and said it already.
I know. So
Well, at least
that
they're
might be
honest.
one of the reasons. That might be one of the reasons they didn't really bother to have armor separate from the tradable ones that you were just talking about. For this round. I don't know. I don't know if they were thinking that far ahead, but it would make sense.
Then, of course, the big thing on reputation in this area is that we had the Host of the West, which you might have gotten kindred with at the end of Update 19 and all that stuff. So you were questioning, what are they going to be doing for Reputation Faction this time? What they decided to do was really, really cruel, I think. And that is, first off, they added 3 new tiers of reputation to the Host of the West. What do you mean, renowned?
Well, they did that with Minas Tirith too. The one difference here is you actually do, there actually are reasons to get the upper tiers with the Host of the West because there actually are things. With Minas Tirith, there isn't anything.
Well, I never unlocked it so that I would know that there were additional tiers on Minas Tirith. That tells you how up to date I was. Is that I did get kindred with the Host of the West. I don't think I ever hit kindred with the Defenders of Minas Tirith, so therefore, I guess.
Yeah, there's 3 tiers beyond in Minas Tirith, but there's nothing, you don't really get anything for it. But at least with Host of the West, if you go beyond, then there are some things you can get. So that was nice of them to do that.
Though the reputation accelerators are more expensive now, which is kind of sad. Because I keep wanting to go buy them. But I need to do a lot more skirmishes before I can.
I just buy mine in the store.
Or do a lot more deeding so I can buy them in the store.
If I remember correctly, I happened to have a couple that had dropped out of Hobbit presents a while back, and I think I used those. And I got to the first, so that allowed me to get to the Renowned, which is the one just above Kindred. And I try to think I think there was a cosmetic something that I wanted. It was probably it might have been the ports, the warden ports.
Yeah, the ports. Yeah, to get the ports to like Harandir, which is the next stop beyond the camp, you have to get the next tier up, I think, don't you?
Right, I think that was it. Now, in addition to those 3 lovely additional tiers, there are 3 sub-factions that are opened up. The Host of the West dash one was with armors and one with
Armor, weapon, and provisions.
Yeah, armor, weapons, and provisions. Those 3 guys, and they allow you in order to get your additional items that you. I guess that's where you get your actual gear at.
Yep. After you get reputation. So first of all,
you get reputation,
you got to craft and make those rep click. Well, the rep clickies will also drop, but that's why you're crafting using all that stuff you're getting in the resources. Is to create.
I was wondering what am I supposed to be doing with all these things because I have my inventory filled with all those stupid things you get as a reward on those instances. And I'm wondering, what in the world do I do with these things?
You get rep. I mean, you click on them to get rep, and then once you've actually maxed out your rep, then you're using them to trade.
No, I don't mean the one. I mean not the ones that are the clickies, but the things that apparently you said you use in order to make the clickies.
Oh yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. The rush cloth and the stuff you're getting on the ore and stuff. You use that with there are now recipes at the Honorian crafting level for making Host of the West. It's actually under Host of the West, and you make these things. And then when you make them, and you also can get recipes for them too. When you make them, then you take them back and you trade them in and like, for example, if I'm a tailor, I make garments, Gondorian garments, right? And so I got all these Gondorian garments and I take them and then I pick which of the 3 I want to trade. So they work for all 3, but all 3 you get their factions. So if it's provisions, you get salt and provisions. Salt is the lower end item and provision is the higher end item. So you get like 2 different ones in each one, and then you mix and match to get your, what do I need? I need to up my reputation for the armor guys. So you trade all your stuff in with it. So so you got to keep trading in these things that you craft. So what's happening is a lot of folks are like on this daily cycle of crafting, especially if they've got multiple alts, that have Honorian levels. I'll talk to some of my friends. They'll be like, they alt hop to do their crafting and they craft up all this stuff to go get the rep clickies.
All right. I'll have to double check.
Sounds horrible, doesn't it? This sounds horrible.
I'm going to have to double check to see whether I think there might be a couple of cosmetic pets I still want to get so therefore we'll have to get my rep up for those. But I'm certainly not going to worry about the armor or anything like that. And so I'll see about getting some of those recipes and trying to get that, because right now my rep with those guys is still at neutral.
Yeah, it's a grind. I mean, it's kind of
right.
That would probably be one of the things that I'm a little bit, when I go to do my scoring. There's a lot of grinding to the new area that seems a little bit over the top.
All right. Anybody else have anything they wish to say concerning reputation?
Nothing that's not already been said.
All right. Then now we're in the random section. In other words, we could speak about any part of the update that you can think of, even if it's an ancillary one or anything like that. Trying to remember what was in the update and what wasn't.
Well, I think I mentioned it before, and it's in connection to the thing that Cam doesn't want to talk about, that I was actually going to call by name a little bit more, but you get to actually meet oh my god, I just forgot his name. Círdan. You get to meet Círdan, and I know I've already complained about him in previous one about being beardless, but it was kind of cool.
I completely forgot about that little story. Yes, that the
Where?
Yeah.
What? Who? Hold on.
The Sons of Elrond tell a story, and you get to go into an instance and see. And Círdan is in the instance. And I rode up to. I walked up to him really closely, and I looked, and I'm like, he doesn't have a beard. This is not right.
He shaved before battle. You know how some people have challenges that they have for good luck or something like that, where either you
maybe that's it. He goes the other way. He
shave beard before major battle.
That's it. That's what they're explaining. Anyway, but that was a minor thing. But I'm trying to think if there's any. Oh, there are some we didn't mention on the landscape. Some pretty hefty sections, right, to be doing like deeding and whatnot in. One of them was the one that Pineleaf and Andang and I did during beta, where you had to fill up these enormous holes with boulders, like in your back pocket.
Yeah, where are we
I
getting
remember
all
that.
these boulders in order to?
And those places, both those places, it's Anahur's Folly, I forget this, and Dumboha,
Onto her.
Anahur's Folly and Dumboha, which is like really close to Harandir, are one of those. There are two other places that are just like packed with mobs, and you have to go in and do not only specific quests, but there's also, of course, deeds, for both of those places. And those are
Speaking of places that respawn too fast.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? So those are two interesting spots too. I don't think we mentioned really too much about that, but
I can tell you that Dumboha was one of the few places I've gone in a long time where I actually had to leave it because I don't kill very fast. I can take a lot of mobs, but I don't kill very fast.
Yeah.
So, I'll take 4 mobs at a time, whack them out and whatnot, and then I'm like, okay, now I got to pause, regenerate my health, and I'm looking around and going, there's a whole crap load of mobs over there, whole crap load of mobs over there. I'll take the guys on the left, no problem. And right about the time my morale tops off and I'm ready to go off, here comes the respawns. And I'm like, son of a... I just killed you guys.
I know. It is. It's really challenging. One of the things, though, that, I was talking about connecting the Dead Marshes, you actually do meet someone that you met in the Dead Marshes. You meet again in the new area, which is pretty cool. You guys trying to think who that was?
Someone you meet in the Dead Marsh?
Yeah, there's a guy that you meet in the Dead Marshes when you're in Dol Amroth. There's a lore master that you meet. I think he's a lore master.
Oh, he's the same. Oh, he's the same guy that you met?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I guess I forgot who we met in the
Dol Amroth one. Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's like, especially if you've been doing, it's like if you haven't gone back to the Dead Marshes, it's a long time. And I think the reason that I knew that, I think I had done the Dead Marshes relatively recently on one of my tunes.
Well, you would have gone into the Dead Marshes for the...
And then for the scavenger hunt after that,
for the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, but it was before
I just didn't realize it was the same person.
Yeah, it's the same guy, yeah. Pretty cool,
that guy that you mentioned when we were going through the Dead Marshes.
Yeah, I think I said to you, make a note of this guy, right? Didn't I say that?
I'm pretty sure you did.
Pay attention to this guy. Yeah, so now I've spoiled it for you, sorry. But yeah, it's kind of cool. You meet him again. And there's a quest line that you do with him, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm with Cam. I was thrilled that they added this piece of Middle-earth history into the game as like this whole very beefy side quest chain. And it's awesome. I mean, it makes you want to, I mean, I would think anybody who, has read the books but maybe hasn't read the appendices would want to go back and do that after they do this quest chain. So yeah, I was really impressed. Just like Cam said, I wanted to echo that they folded that in and did a really nice job with it.
All right. Okay, now I see why I didn't bother. Because concerning those recipes you're talking about earlier.
Uh-huh.
Now I know why I didn't bother with this. Because all these things that said, for each of these, except for the lowest level one, in order to make one of these large bundle of Daggerlad provisions, you'll need a Ranger's Journal of Daggerlad Cookery.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which I think was, which will gladly supply for you. I think, was it for flowers that you needed to turn in for that or something like that?
You can get them with flowers. Sometimes they'll drop, but not, it seems like I only get weaponsmithing in drops. You get them in these featured in the resource instances, you'll get like a box of journals and you open it up and pick which one you want. And the featured instances now are dropping those as well. The daily featured instance.
I've gotten some in the
them,
featured instances. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, there is at least not two where you don't need the journal to do. You just don't get as many.
Yeah, the
it's
lowest
like a crit
level
item, almost. Yeah, it's a crit
right.
item.
Yeah, for the provisions for the standard one, looks like you get 5 bundles with just regular stuff. So you could do a crit item that makes a guaranteed crit that will give you three bundles instead of one bundle. So therefore it gives you
it gives you more. Yeah,
it gives you more of them. And then the large bundles, then you
35.
get 5 of them in one shot.
But it's a week cooldown.
But it's a week cooldown, and you need one of these crazy journals in order to do it.
Which is why you've got people that are doing, they're all popping their Anorian crafters.
It's an 18-hour cooldown than with just the regular one. So no wonder I haven't been doing these crazy things.
And then you can send them so they're not bound to the character. So that's why you've got people, that are doing all their Anorian crafters are doing all of these things, and then they send them to one character, so that the character has all the.
This is me with the shifty eyes because I haven't been doing that at all. Speaking of all of my Anorian crafters.
That's right.
They're kind of like the guild recipes then with the cooldowns.
Kind of,
yes.
Yeah, they are kind of like that, yeah. And then there's some that are single use, but you can get them from the herbal. You can get them from the herbalist. I think you can get the recipes, or sometimes they'll drop. The single use recipes. So you could end up I think right now I've probably got 4 of the single uses in my vault.
That's right. Okay, that's what the Rangers Provisions one then is a single use one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, and that gives you 7 of the Rangers Provisions. And doesn't have a cooldown, but since it's single use, you'd have to have a pile of those in order to keep doing it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why people like to get the journals, is so you can be making more. And also, there's, like I said, there's 2 types. So there's one kind of thing you make that's going to give you the low end of the 2 clickies,
right?
And another kind of thing you make that's going to give you the gold level clickies. Like the salt and the provisions. So it's.
Yeah.
I think it's just needlessly complex.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
all right. I see. Because the Rangers the Daggerdite Provisions gives you the salt, while the Rangers Provisions, or the single use recipes, or the crit versions, will then give you the Rangers Provisions.
Now, if what you're doing is getting reputation, it's no biggie. You've got one that gives you 100, one that gives you 500, the clickies. It's when you start when you get the reputation, and then now you want to start bartering to get jewelry or, whatever. Each item requires X amount of salt and X amount of provisions, for example,
Right. Like the
so
Helpful
then you've
Hound.
got to craft to get,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have one of those.
The Helpful Hound looks like it takes 40 salt and 10 provisions. And
actually, I have the well-supplied hound.
Dagger-led provisions then so if I do one of these per day, getting 5 of those,
it'll take you 5 years, right?
8. So that'll take me 8 days to get the salt I need. And as for the provisions, I can get 7 of them. Oh, but I'll need to get a Ranger's Journal for that. So I think, it's complicated.
It is.
I'm going to use the word ridiculous.
Okay. Well, maybe a little bit. Let's then ask anybody else have anything they wish to add concerning the update? Then let's head into our scores, where we could score it based on what we thought about it overall. If you think it's the greatest update in the world, you can give it an A. If you think it's atrociously bad, you can give it an F. If you haven't got to it yet, you give it an I. Things like that. So, Ariendis.
Well, my highest is level 51, so I'm nowhere near any of this, so I'm going to have to go with an I. But it sounds really cool.
All right, and then we'll head to Maven.
I'm giving what am I doing? I'm doing the overall.
Oh,
Is this overall? Is this the overall thing?
actually, we forgot a section.
Did we?
Oh, what did we forget?
Landscape.
No,
we
we
did.
talked about landscape. I distinctly remember talking about landscape.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
we talked about the
we talked
landscape
about the landscape quests,
but not the
right.
landscape itself.
Remember that?
Oh. Yeah, we didn't talk
No,
about the
'cause
landscape itself.
I distinctly remember complaining that we didn't have the dead marshes connected to this part of the dead marshes.
Okay. Yeah.
We did talk about that.
You did talk about that. I think that just came in as a side. But does anyone else have anything they wish to add concerning the landscape in general, like about how it's laid out, about the mobs that are there, or anything like that?
Well, I do like the fact that there are some Gondorian ruins in the area, because back in the Second Age, when they initially built the wall and the Black Gates, and they built, the settlements to keep watch on it, that eventually kind of fell into disarray and ruin.
Right.
So that way you can see how that sort of happened in the form of the ruins, and there were even a couple of side quests that kind of explore, hey, this was a barn and this was an inn, and that sort of thing. So it does do a good setup of, hey, this area used to be settled. The Gondorians used to keep an eye on the Black Gates to make sure that that section of the world was blocked off so that
Right.
Sauron would never come back, etc. So I like that they've inserted those elements, and of course there's the remnants of the battle kind of on the gates, when in the form of the Slag Hills itself.
I liked the way they did the
Yeah,
Slag
it's-
Hills. And I appreciated not instantly dying when I touched the nasty water.
Yeah,
That
but
was
you always
alright.
get a sickly
I did my
feeling
best
whenever you swim
to-
in it.
Yes, I did my best to tiptoe around it, but I was
I mean, you
relieved
don't want to linger
notice
in it, but at least
No.
at least it doesn't
that it wasn't
Not too
instant
much
death
on
at
it.
least. But
Yeah.
it still had the effect of making you want to get out of it quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly not very compatible with your usual meals.
No. And visually it fit, I think, what I had in my mind for what Slag Hills might look like.
It did,
Yeah.
and visually it made sure every hobbit put on boots.
My hobbit did put on boots. She did.
Yeah, and some places really bad if a lot of the hobbits are donning boots in order to go through there, yes.
She carries boots for just such nasty occasions.
Yeah.
And because
it
somebody
kinda
gave
sounds
them
like-
to her. Good.
Sorry, I was just going to say it sounds like a Yelp review. It's so bad we had to put on boots.
Hobbit Yelp.
Hobbit Yelp, yeah. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. But yes, the landscape, I'm not going to say beautiful because, well, we are talking about they don't call it the waste because it's a beautiful area to visit. It doesn't go into your favorite tourist destinations. It's just outside the gates of Sauron, and the place hasn't been regularly inhabited since the wars against the Wainwriters. So therefore, yeah, it's a very nasty place overall, but they do bring that nastiness in there. And in the early parts of the Nomad Lands, there are still trees and the like, though not exactly what you call the most attractive trees in the world. But I guess you could say these are the types of trees.
So are you judging them? They're struggling to get by.
Yeah, they are struggling to get by. You're all right. They are struggling to get by, and yeah, you sort of feel sorry for them being stuck in this area. If they were in some better place, then yes, I'm sure they would be really nice and lovely. And I'm sure, though, that they are much better looking than the trees that Sam says about in later on in Return of the King, where Sam says, where he lands in a bush, he says, well, if there was to be a bush in Mordor, this is exactly what I thought it would be like, because it was all sort of full of thorns and the like. So I'm sure we're going to run into thorny bushes when we get into Mordor, so be careful. Wear your armor. Now we could go back and Maven, take about your score?
And my score is for the overall? Overall? Is that?
Yeah, overall. You can give your sub scores if you like before giving your overall.
Yeah, that's all right. I would say, it is hard because I would say the epic for me was high. You know, I would score the epic like we're doing it on 1 to 10, right? I would do like a 9. But I think overall I'd have to give it a 7 because of what we're just talking about with the complexity of the rep and the crafting and stuff. The thing about that is that rep and crafting thing doesn't really have any bearing on story or questing or, you know what I mean? It's like there's no story involved.
Completely detached to it.
It's just grinding, yeah, and it takes a lot to, you know, if you want to actually get the stuff. So it takes it down to a 7.
Oh yeah, we're giving it a letter grade from A to F.
Oh, A to F. Okay, so therefore, it would be an A if it wasn't for that, and I'm giving it a C.
All right, there we go, a C. Very well. Then on my end, see, we have all right, I'd say it's nice to have great epic storyline. Landscape is consistent with what is needed. Nice to see a resource instance again. And it's interesting that they were able to have one for group. Now, I've not been inside the group one. They can't grade how much I like it. I presume it's similar to the regular one to it. But the fact that they had a version of it to help with the people who do prefer group play, that there's something there. But yes, the reputation system, I am just so uninterested in it that I'm looking at these recipes and there is no way in the world that I'm ever going to get full rep with these guys. And
when Mordor opens up, you're just going to have a whole other rep faction probably, right? So.
Right. The only thing that made me even the slightest bit interested was potential cosmetics. But right now, I've got quite a number of cosmetics on this character anyway. So it's not like I'm starved for cosmetic pets here. Let's see. I've got 41 cosmetic pets on my main character. Which, okay, I know there are 101 in the game that are available, so that's a respectable number.
Yeah.
And the verdict is?
And therefore, my score is going to have to be... Interesting question. I'm trying to think, is it going to... Let's give it a C. All right, Sans.
Having not played through all of it yet, what I have played through, the epic definitely rated an A, I think, for me.
Right.
As creepy as I found the instance, it was properly so.
Yeah.
And, I liked the landscape, and the sound of the side quests, with history making me want to read the appendices sounds awesome, and I need to go find that side quest. So, yeah, I'd give all of that an A, but looking at the rep vendors made my heart plummet. And I don't know that I've got the grind in me. So, yeah, somewhere between a C and a B, probably.
Yeah, that's the problem. I know that Anding had disallowed pluses and minuses for that, even though we had been doing it earlier, but I think, yeah, he's not here, so. So therefore, what if then I give mine a C plus in order to represent that, because I was thinking between B and C myself. So you could just then decide whether you would to give it a B minus or a C plus.
Having not actually started it, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a B minus, because my heart is still sinking every time I think of those rep vendors.
Yes. Very well, B minus for that. And Camaril.
Well, I'll tell you, again, very taken with the side quests, very taken with the scenery. Frustrated as I am about the dead marshes, that irked me, actually. And ironically, that irked me more than the rep grind. And I say that because I've never really been concerned with grinding out the ultimate gear. If I can grind a little bit and get something cool, bully. So, yeah, the rep grind is huge. It's there. I'm probably not going to mess with it just because we've got Black Gates, or the Mordor expansion coming out, and it's going to be something else. So it's not really affecting my opinion terribly much. I'm going to have to float it a solid B. And that's mostly just because I'm disregarding the rep thing as a concern for me. If I thought about it, I would probably be giving it a B minus or a C, but it's just not in my paradigm. I just don't even think about it.
All right then.
I like that approach. I might have to adopt it. Except I keep needing those stupid ports. Actually, I love the ports. The ports aren't stupid. I love the ports.
I will grind out rep just to get the port.
Fortunately, the port is available with only the...
Yeah, you don't have to do the whole
with only
entire,
respected, so you don't have to go all that far ahead with that.
Perfect. Thank you, devs.
Yes. That and the Tome of the Red Fox. And that is our score for that. So therefore, now let's head into our new player question.
Yes, this week's question kind of goes along with the crafting that we've kind of been talking about. In a way, we've kind of answered it, I think, but I'll ask it anyway just to make sure. Is there at any point in the game where crafting becomes just absolutely vital? I mean, for me personally, I haven't gotten into crafting yet. I mean, I've just gotten into legendary items and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how those work. But crafting in general, I just haven't done, and I'm level 51. Is there a point in the game where you have to craft? And if so, where is that? And is it possible to play LOTRO, I guess, to the current in-game without doing any crafting at all?
I'll be Terry on that one. Yes, no problem. You don't have to craft.
Yeah, that's
what Terry would be saying.
Now, I'm going to say this as a guy who's a craftaholic.
Mm-hmm.
No. I have known many people like Terry who have gone through the game without craft. I just happen to like crafting.
Okay.
More importantly, not only do you not have to craft, there are people who love crafting so much that if you join a kin and whatnot and say, oh, my gear is crap, we'll just pour stuff at you. I do it all the time. I mean, I literally be like, just send me the mats. What do you mean the mats? I was like, well, are you killing mobs? Yes. Okay, great. Send me the raw crap. And my recommendation, if you're not keen on crafting, but you still want to kind of keep your foot in the game, play an explorer.
Okay.
Just pull all the mats on the field that you can, whether it's branches or ore or hides. Sell it on the auction hall and buy finished goods, because the crafters are always looking for raw materials. And if you do happen to befriend a craftaholic like me, and feel free to drop me a friend request. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Okay. And you throw the mats at me, and I will make you critted stuff just for grins. Yeah.
Usually the biggest thing is that if you win a first stage item, they're probably going to be wanting the symbol because
Hmm.
I don't think most crafters aren't going to be riddled with those. But if you want a second age on it, you can just get a symbol from a skirmish camp if you don't have any other place to get it.
Okay.
The other reason to craft is when you're on your, let's say you're on your like 5th or 6th or 10 alt that you've rolled, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
You can actually level up really quickly in the lower levels by crafting. I'd say up to maybe level 25, 30, I suppose, something like that. Crafting will level you up really fast when you're at a.
I have a guardian who's accidentally level 33 from crafting.
I kid you not.
All she's done is farmed and cooked for my alts, and she's level 33, and I never intended her to be that high.
Right, exactly. I've got a runekeeper, same thing. They're a farmer, but they're a yeoman, a farmer cook. That's all they've been doing. They've been sitting in Michael Delving, just farming and cooking, and they're level 35.
So that's another reason. If you just you've done everything at the low levels, and it's like, well, I want to have this class, but I don't want to go through all this stuff. I'll just craft. So that's another.
Yeah, but it's something that's obviously not required. And I answered earlier why I craft. I just do it for the food so that I can have some extra buffs when I'm going around.
I think this question really kind of comes down to what do you enjoy doing in the game, because you can play this game all the way to the end and not raid. I think I've partaken in 2 raids, and I've been in this game since year 1. I've had plenty of fun.
Yeah. Now, I've been in more raids than that, but I don't think I've ever been at the top end raid. Every time I've ever done a raid, it's always been after there are about 3 or 4 raids that are of higher level past it. And I'm not counting skirmish raids because I have been in a number of those. But there's more on the skirmish side and on the raid side.
I have a flip question. Can you actually get to cap by crafting? Level cap?
Theoretically. But you got to realize that every time you pop a recipe, it's like 35 XP. So I'll give you an example of that sort of thing. Duban, who is my dwarf hunter, has been sitting in a Stelden since he was like 51-ish. And I've got him up to 57. But he's been sitting there largely for like 2 years, and I've been farming him stuff from Cameroon. It could be done, but I mean, not unless you wanted to play the game for another 10 years.
Okay. I was just curious.
The other thing for me is I like being self-sufficient. So specifically for things like hope tokens and scrolls and oil for my hunter. I know that if I need to, I can make them for myself. So that's another. It's not so much the armor, but it's the adjunct stuff, the food. Like Pineleaf was saying, it's being able to make that ourselves is kind of useful to have that skill.
Right.
So if you're looking for the consumables, I would recommend Historian or Yeoman.
Okay.
And it depends on what your class is, because some classes will meld better. Like, for instance, if you're a hunter, I'd recommend Woodworker, at least until even just all the way up through legendary items, because then you'd be crafting your own weapons.
Yeah.
And let's face it, the hunter, the only thing that's really critical that you have maxed on the hunter is your bow.
Well,
I rarely use my other weapons.
If you are a hunter, though, and you're more interested in consumables than you are in that, you could also consider Scholar, because Scholar does make the oils.
Yes. And hunters can bounce all over the place to pick up the Scholar materials.
Mm-hmm.
Or other materials, though.
Right.
Like wood,
so the question is, if you want to make weapons, or do you want to make consumables? That's sort of which side of that fence you're on.
I think we can have an hour-long discussion just on this topic alone.
Yes.
Or the other is I'm an explorer for much the same reason that Cam was just saying. I can get the mats, and if I choose to, I can sell them on auction house or use
now. Right, because right now I'm looking at my Warden. I have on my fire oils that I have on my Warden are the level 20 minimum ones, 10-minute duration ones, which are low-end ones. I think 5-minute ones you could actually buy your class trainer on there, so you could get oils in that if you're willing to have to renew it every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's true. And the nice thing, though, is that the higher level ones, they still have the same minimum requirement. You just get longer durations.
Yeah.
The longer durations.
Yeah.
So anyway, but Cam is right.
Yeah.
You get into a kin that makes that stuff, and it's like people will be like, "Yeah, no problem." So, wasn't that a long answer to a simple question?
No, it's good. It was good. Thank you.
Very well then. Let's then head into our week in LOTRO. We have time for one highlight each this week since we had a longer episode.
We've been so long-winded.
Yes. So Sanswinda, what's your highlight this week?
You
could keep them in the show notes if you want people to be able to read.
Okay, fine. I'll put them back in. This week, I learned, well, actually, last night, I learned from somebody reputable in LOTRO Academy that I could probably, with the level of expertise that I have totally gained in the last year, take a level 5 character to Rivendell on foot. So, I very bravely ran a brand new level 5 hunter to Rivendell on horseback and felt like I was cheating the whole time. So, I ran the same level 5 hunter to Rivendell today on stream on my Twitch channel. And it took quite a few morale potions. And 2 rejuvenation potions that dropped in Hobbit presents yesterday and today. And I made it all the way to Rivendell on foot, by myself, on a level 5 hunter. And then I couldn't manage to die by jumping off of anything in Rivendell to test whether or not I would stay in Rivendell or be ported back, because while the Trollshaw's, the area is red, Rivendell is actually white. So I wasn't sure if it would port me out as a dangerous death or not, but I couldn't find anything that I could fall off of and die.
So jump off any of the bridges or anything?
I did. I jumped off a bridge. I jumped off
nothing's high
a
enough.
cliff. I jumped off something else, but no rose circle. So, it was suggested by this same very wise person named Brannick that I could go to the Misty Mountains and die there. So I was like, well, I wonder if I can even make it to Glowin's camp. So I made it to Glowin's camp.
Wow.
And then I went out to meet these awesome purple critters who I figured it was suggested that maybe they were royalty and had something very important to say. I'm pretty sure if they did, it was die now and go home. So, yeah, I died in the Misty Mountains. But, yeah, that was my highlight for the week.
And rezzed in Combe?
I rezzed in Mickledelving because I was a hobbit. And my milestone was in Mickledelving. I don't know if my milestone actually had anything to do with it or not, but that's where I rezzed.
Was that the subtle hint from the devs saying, go get thee gone?
Probably. Well, and I picked the revive now option just to see, and I got the cool little icon that says, dangerous revive. You are now back home where you're safe. Well, that's not exactly what it said, but that was the gist of it. Arindis, how was your week? What was your highlight?
My highlight for this week, on the girls' stream that we did last weekend, we ran Carndum and Urugarth, and I had never done that before. So that was just kind of fun just to see it for myself. I had no idea just how big it was. I mean, like, that whole instance is just massive, and there are so many different parts to it. And I had a lot of fun just kind of bouncing around and doing stuff with them. So Maven, what was your highlight this week?
And you had missed the previous girls where we did the outer edges of the carnival
Yeah.
stuff, so that was even big. I had a lot of stuff, but this probably the one that's fun to recount is in Corey Olson's Grifflet stream yesterday, he mysteriously logged in and was a free-to-play player, which is just weird because he's a VIP player with the current account, but all of a sudden the system said you are free to play, and
that did it to me too.
Did it?
Yes.
And he was out in Dunland, wanting to do some of the side questing there, and couldn't because he had to buy. He would have had to buy the quest pack, which. I mean, why should he? Because he's definitely a VIP. So anyway, that was like, emergency, danger, Will Robinson, what do we do? What do we do? So we talked kind of offline a little bit and said, well, I said, can you do skirmishes? He says, yeah. I said, well, can you do instances? Yeah. So we ended up doing Barad Guldur. So we had, we called an emergency raid. and got folks together and we went to Barad Guldur. But the thing that was hilarious, of course, is that he stopped all the way along the way, right? And if you remember, until you get to a certain point in that raid, mobs just keep coming and finding you. So he's looking at the tapestries and he's looking at the rugs and he's looking at the walls and, these mobs keep showing up, which is okay because we had fairly high level people, but it was really funny. And anyway, he had never done it before, which was fun. So that was my big highlight. And who's after me? Cam is, right? Cam, I think.
Yeah, it looks that way. I can say, aside from figuring out that the crafting rep thing out in the new expansion is a scam, I have been plotting and planning what I want to roll the High Elf Cameral as, and so since I've got a captain that's at 100, and I've got Cameral, of course, as a guard at 105, and I'm thinking about his history and thinking, do I want to do a champion? I don't know. So I decided, what the heck, I'll pick up my champion that was just a crafting thing, and I've been playing him. And I'm out in Evendom right now, and I'm realized that I started playing when Evendom was the first expansion. And so I remember when Evendom was, affectionately known as Everswim, which now they've got the boats out there, is very convenient, very happy. But I'm liking the updates, and it's making me wonder that when I do finally pick what I want to roll the High Elf as, if I want to just not buy Blessing of the Valar and just roll them from level 1 and see what the changes have been. It's generally been a very pleasing experience. Plus, I had the opportunity to go through Bree, a place I just avoid like the plague, because if anybody likes role-playing the way I do, and you walk into, talk to Butterbur and the Prancing Pony, and you look around and go, dear God, what are they doing? Really, sometimes it's bad. It's really bad. It's just been a nice experience, kind of re-experiencing the game. So that's what I've been up to.
Cool.
All right, and my highlight of the week is that in my regular skirmish group, we once again made our attempt on Survival Barrel Downs, and we finally broke the 30-minute mark. We had been stuck around 25, I think, and around the last 2 times we had. We just couldn't get past 30. But this week we got up to 35 minutes before a venomous blood arrow shot me, and I didn't realize I had been shot. Of course, if you don't realize venomous blood arrow is on you, you get stunned for 10 seconds. You can't do anything about it, and everything kills you during that time. So that's what happened. But that was 35 minutes in, which is a record for my regular skirmish group in Survival Barrel Downs. Yay!
Congrats.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
awesome. That is awesome.
Now, the reason why that's such a major milestone is because that's where the deeds all go up to, and that's where the dailies go up to, even though the instance itself can theoretically go up to an hour. Not that I've ever made it, if 35 minutes is my record. We currently have 23 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. We did not receive any emails this week, but you can send us one to podcast@lotroplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @Players Outline, LOTRO Players @LOTRO Players, Ariendes @Ariendes, Forte @Forte_Maestro, Maven @Tolkien Maven, Pineleaf @Pineleaf News, Sanswinda @Sanswinda, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin. And where can they follow you, Art?
Well, that was the question of the moment about 10 minutes before the podcast kicked off. We said, do you have a Twitter? And I said, that's a very good question. So, in the interest of pulling something together, I will be creating one for this. So, be keeping an eye out for an @Cameral, maybe an @Cameral Arthandir, but I will certainly put a mention up once it's created, and I'll probably create a page the way Terry Adwin has done. Feeling inspired. It's coming.
The Players Alliance has 4 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News on the first and third Fridays of each month at 11 p.m. US Eastern Time. We have XP Quest on the last Friday of each month at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. We have LOTRO Academy After School, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time we have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows at lotroplayers.com/live. And thank you all, everyone. This is Finally Beatles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.